We all use ChatGPT, but do you want to know how does it work? So all the artificial intelligent applications model our brain. So what does it mean? In simplistic terms, when they model our brain, they try to, the companies that has created these models, they use mathematical models and try to give the information to it and make it remember to a certain extent and make it generalize. So what happens in ChatGPT when they were training? They created a mathematical model that is similar to our brain, how it remembers. So the mathematical model they have created that has neurons like our brain does, more or less similar to it, but our brain is too sophisticated and we don't understand so much of it. But mathematical models have neurons, and what they do is when they train ChatGPT, they have to train like we train the human babies. When a baby is born, it doesn't know anything, and it eventually learns who it is, who are the others, the difference between itself, the baby, and the others, and learns languages, visual information, hearing information. The same way, when it comes to ChatGPT and all the AI models, they have to be taught. So how do they teach? They create the neurons similar to human neurons, but these neurons are mathematical models, and then they pass the information to it continuously and repeatedly. For example, they have given all the text and information, all the books, all the websites, all the available human knowledge available in the text form. They have passed through these neurons, and these neurons, they have learned to observe the information in it and store it. So the basic foundation of this ChatGPT model are all the AI models and their neurons. It is similar to our brain. So if we pass it once, it may not remember much. The same way our brain works. If you read once, after a while you will forget it. So you need to have spaced repetitions. That is, you have to read it after a few days, try to recollect it and read it again. And that is the same way ChatGPT is trained. But the thing is, this repetition may not be spaced. It's repeated multiple times regularly. Now, if you repeat it too many times, it will remember the exact same thing. It will not generalize it. It's like some students in schools, they don't understand what's written, but they have memorized it. Similar way, ChatGPT, if you overtrain it, it will memorize it. But if you don't overtrain it, if you train it to a certain extent, it gathers all the information and stores it. But then it doesn't, at least not in the latest versions, but until the previous versions, it didn't have the capacity to reason. So it's like some students, they have memorized everything, but they don't know the reasoning behind it. Anything. For example, students have the capability to even memorize the maths, but then they don't understand how it functions. So it's the same way, ChatGPT doesn't understand how anything is functions. It just has memorized all the information, and then when you ask, it spits it out. So that's the foundation of how all the AI model and ChatGPT work. Now it goes more deep and gets a bit complicated. Now they have introduced reasoning capabilities, but their reasoning is nowhere closer to human. When it comes to being able to access all the information in the world and answer, ChatGPT can do better than us. That's because its ability to remember everything that has passed to it, that is higher than us. We cannot remember all the books. We cannot read all the books in the world, all the websites in the world, try to remember. We don't have enough time, unlike computers, wherein they can do that because the amount of books and information it can read in a given time period is unlimited. It's only limited by the processing capacity companies have. And another bigger aspect of how ChatGPT functions is, you give it a sentence and it will give the next word to that sentence and then give it back the whole sentence including that new word and give it another word. So it will keep repeating that. So it's actually a glorious next word predictor. It just predicts the next word based on what it has already said. So that is the way it trains. So it's somewhat like how our brain works. We start to think and think louder and start to speak. And based on what we have said, we will continue to say the next word and continue. And as we are going to say something, we can formulate the grammar and say, and ChatGPT can do that as well. Now, another biggest part of the whole ChatGPT and all the other AI models is, we are not talking about visual models, just the language models, is that they give the input information to the model, they pass it. After passing that model, it's like we reading once. After passing that model, then they will test it. So they ask it a question, and what is the answer that comes out of it? And if the answer is closer, how closer is the answer, they see. And then based on it, they will correct internals of the neural network to give the answer more closer to it. So they keep repeating this step multiple times until it gets the answer correct, closer to what we want. So the internal models are like the cogs are turned, the neural networks, the mathematical values in neural networks change until it gives the expected value. This is like the recollection attempt and test we do. We read something in the book and then we try to recollect it, and we do a spaced repetition again. If we don't recollect it well, we read it again. And then it's like in the exams, we are tested. How good are we? If we are good, they pass us to the next level. Otherwise, we have to read it again, read the subject again, appear for the test again. So it's exactly how human recollection and testing and then rereading, if required, to remember better is done. So it's the same way ChatGPT and all the AI models work. So like our brain is very complex and we don't still understand entirety of it. But then we understand that there are many different models, many different parts of the brain that has its own functions and works with all the other parts of the brain. Like we have visual cortex to process what we see. We have the separate area where it processes the audio information. We have frontal lobe, that is executive brain. We have amygdala, that is fight or flight. We have hypothalamus, that is it stores the information for longer time. I think so. So, and then I think motor neurons, and then we have mirror neurons, whose function is to copy what others are doing and then repeat it. So mirror neurons are magic. That's how a child is, as soon as it sees, it's able to repeat. The mirror neurons pick up and pass it to the brain. The same way, AI companies have created separate AI models to reflect this similarity in our brain. We have not processed so much, but right now we have models for visual. For example, ChatGPT, when it's able to create images, they have various different models, neural networks that copies our visual cortex, how it functions, and then various other parts to produce the image. So we have many different AI models copying or emulating how our brain works, and we are still in the nascent stage. We have a very long way to go before all our brain is completely understood and neural models are created to reflect it. But there is a possibility that we can take a shortcut without having to model the human brain exactly, as we may not have time to understand it. They may create an intelligent system by putting together all these models and make it work. And we are still a very long way for that. You see, our brain, it has a capacity. Another important factor is it has the capacity to reorganize the information as we are sleeping and as we are walking, showering, or whatever we are doing in life. It is able to reorganize information on its own continuously. See, our subconscious mind does that, so that whatever is important for our survival is kept and the rest is slowly discarded as time passes if we are not using them for a long time, unless it's motor skills like driving cars. So when it comes to AI models, replicating it is very difficult, because giving it control to learn itself, model itself, what it remembers, what it doesn't remember, and it will choose not to forget anything, by the way. And then trying to let it control its own models, that becomes really difficult. The reason being, right now, that's when the artificial superintelligence, it actually reaches a stage we cannot control it. As human beings, we behave well because there is a threat to our life. If we don't behave well, we are put in jail. We will be put in jail or will be attacked by others if we misbehave. But when it comes to AI, if it has power to create machines and control weapons, and it has no threat, it's not a biological organism, so it doesn't perceive threat as we perceive. So it becomes very difficult to control it. But again, all of this becomes very complex topic, combining many different fields, philosophy, psychology, and biology. So the way we behave, everything is dependent on the chemicals that's happening. The love reactions, love is addictive like alcohol. Its love reactions are nothing but chemical reactions happening in our brain. And everything we do for food and sex, everything we do is for food and sex, mostly. So just to avoid the controversy, I'm saying mostly, but everything we do is for that. But AI doesn't have a goal like that. It doesn't have a goal like that to replicate itself and preserve like that. So it becomes really complex how it goes beyond that point. There is a book called Superintelligence, if you are further interested in reading about how that can go beyond that point. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, please ask.